Hello, hello, hello. Welcome. Hi, I am Sylvia Hayes, and you are watching Good News at Primetime. Today, we're going to be talking about it's a family affair. So, during the summer months is when everybody's having their family reunions, getting together, going visiting family members, and things like that. So, family is important. So, we're going to talk about family. It's a family affair. Before we get into that, let's talk about politics a little bit. An election is coming up real soon. So it's important that you are aware of what's going on in this election thing because some people are saying some dirty things, and you want to be conscious of what they're saying and make sure what they're saying, you're not believing it if it's not real. Okay, so check out what they're saying, because everything they put out there is not real, and they want to sway you in the wrong direction so you can vote for them. Okay, so pay attention to that and be sure you get out and vote because so many people have given their lives to vote for you to have the right to vote. It is. I can't begin to express the thoughts. I went to a civil rights museum in Mississippi this weekend, and to see the things that people had to go through just to have the right to vote, just to have the right to vote. People were killed, it was a lot. It was a lot. So don't let that struggle go in vain. Get out and vote. It is so important that you vote. A lot of people say, why vote? It don't mean anything to them. But when you start complaining about things, it's like, did you vote? Did you put the representative in to represent you, to represent the views and to take care of you and your needs? If you didn't do that, if you didn't have a say-so of who gonna represent you, then you don't have a say-so in what they do. So you have to get out and vote. Voice your opinion. Okay. And once they get in office, you still say something. Hey, this is going on. You need to check this out, or I don't think this should happen, or whatever is going on. You need to change your views. Abortions. I think you should be voting to have for everybody to have an abortion, whoever want one, if that is the case. Because, even if you're not speaking for you, you're speaking for the future, for your children, your grandkids, because everything is done now. It may not affect you now, but it may affect your kids. It may affect you when you get in an old folks' home. Okay? So be sure you voice your opinion and put it out there. And in the meantime, we're going to talk about our little book. Not good news at prime time. Power Thoughts. Empowering you to be successful in life. This is my book. Okay? You can get this book on Amazon. It's a lot of places. The book is all over the place. Amazon, Lulu.com. I prefer you going to Lulu.com to get the book. And also, you can also go to AandKProductions.com. AandKProductions.com. And order the book right there. This book has literally saved lives, mentally, emotionally, and physically. Okay? So you want to get this book. Teachers are getting this book to help with their kids. Parents are getting this book to help raise their kids. People have get stepped up a step mentally from reading this book. Okay? And it's a very good book. So we're going to talk about family affair. And to help me with this conversation, we're going to bring on my co-host, Mr. Reggie Drummer. Hey, Reggie, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Feeling good. I'm feeling outstanding. Uh, it's a good day to be alive, and it's a good day to be part of a family.
Oh, yes, it is. Very good day to be a part of the family. And family is so important. People don't realize the value of familyhood. I guess you could say familyhood. They don't realize the value of it. It's starting from being a baby. Your siblings babysitting your siblings, mom taking care of the baby, going around aunts and playing with cousins. All of that's important. It's your roots. It's so important that you know where your roots are, where you come from and everything. And you need to know who your family members are because a lot of your DNA comes from everybody. You don't just get stuff from your mom and daddy. You might get stuff from your auntie, your grandmother, your great grandfather, all those things. You get genes from everybody because it's passed down and spread out, So it's knowing your roots is
Yeah.
important.
Well, we are like a gumbo. When I think about family affair. I think about my, biological family, my traceable biological family, my dad, mom, paternal, paternal grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, all of them. And that's a family.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think about my family that I married into. That's a family. Uh, another aspect of a family. And then I think about my family as far as like when you talk about school, we do class reunions. My military family, uh, some of them I only knew for about uh, 6 months. We were in boot camp together. And then my military family, some of them I knew for about a year at a dip. My San Diego family, my Norfolk family, my Charleston, Mayport family, people I worked with over time, they became family, groups, organizations, uh, even a fraternal family, uh, and even families in the ministry, guys that we were part of a ministry together, we still fellowship, that type of stuff. So family is very important, and we look at family from many different views. For instance, even in the military and even on the outside, I've had people that said, well, if you had a job, they said, well, if somebody passes in your immediate family, you can have the day off. If somebody passes in your immediate family and they consider that to be your mother, your father, paternal, uh, maternal grandparents,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe an aunt and an uncle. Well, when I was in the military, there were different people that had different types of family because everybody were not raised by their mother, father, paternal grandparents, and that nature.
Right.
I've even had people that were raised from another race of people. You know, I've had I remember a white gentleman. I didn't understand it at the time, but he had a big mama. His mom and his dad, uh, both of them died prematurely. He was raised by black people, but he was not adopted. On paper, there was nothing. But he went AWOL because he wanted to go see his big mama's funeral. That was a woman that took care of him from the time he was 9 years old till he joined the military at 18. And it meant
Mm.
a lot to him. And this is a white, and this he grew up in the Midwest, where Missouri, but he his allegiance was to that black woman that they call Big Mama, because his dad and mom were dead, and she raised him from the time he was 8, 9 years old, all the way till he left to join the military. So family can mean a lot to a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah, it can. And then sometimes, a work family are closer to you than your blood family.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I've seen that happen too. People rather go to work and hang out with their coworkers than to be at home or to hang with their blood family.
Well,
Because,
you have to bring this up. COVID showed that a lot of people ended up separating from their married family because they're doing, say, when COVID was going down, they couldn't go to work. The only thing that was keeping them in their married family was the fact that they were working. But when they had to come home to be with the people that uh, you know they couldn't deal with it. So the work environment is a family. You work for a long extended period of time. The longest I've ever worked in one place was 10 years.
mm,
Uh, and that was a family bond. I got people that I know their kids. I've been to funerals. I've been to weddings, all kind of things, uh, parties, etc. Doing that particular thing. So there was a bond. We knew a lot about each other. I worked the shift with them. Just a whole lot of little intricate things that we knew about each other, because all of us work. I worked night shift for like 5 years.
uh-huh.
So it was a lot of things that we learned about each other, sleeping habits, looking out for each other, making sure we didn't get caught sleeping. So
Right.
believe it or not, you generate some bonds that you just do not generate with other people on your job, and
Yeah.
they all not romantic type things. I'm talking about situations of survival, us against management, uh, getting food, bringing extra stuff in just to make sure we can make it through the night, them 7 to 8 hours between the next day.
Mm-hmm.
So a work environment, that's a family.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
we do.
is.
Yes.
Yeah, because I know with me, I'm in the entertainment industry. Of course, this is entertainment too. But when I go to work, it's like we're all bonded. Everybody, hi, how you doing? It's a bond. I mean, if something is going on, they're supporting the other person. Whatever
Right.
they do. And a lot of time people think the industry is so worldwide, but you'd be surprised how close everything is, how close everybody are, because
Okay.
you think you don't know this person, but we know him. We know Joe Blow. Joe Blow and I have a conversation every now and then. But you wouldn't think that, because you think there's so many people in the industry and they don't know each other. But it's a closer knit family than you think. And they do support each other.
Right.
And that's what I like about it, at least in the area that I'm in. With me, we support each other. If somebody's doing something, we go in there to support them.
Right.
I have a book. People buying my book. So it's out there. They're supporting, even if you're doing the same thing like me and several other people. We are authors, but we buy each other's book. We don't say I got a book myself, so I'm not buying yours. No, I buy
Mm.
your book and I buy her book and I buy his book. We're supporting each other. So that's a family right there.
Oh yeah. Well, you got different subgroups. It doesn't, just like whatever. Even inside a family, you got subgroups. You got when in my biological family, we called anybody that was older than us. This was uh, my cousins. All of us at one point, all of us went to similar the same schools
Mm-hmm.
during a 1 year period. My grandmother had all three of her daughters' children under the same roof. Uh, and four of us went to what's that? Well, yeah, four of us went to the same high school, and three of us went to the same junior high school. But during that same period, we call because families come up with terms for each other. We call all the adults the grown people, and we call the rest of us, we were the seven. Uh, Now, fast forward, when you think about it, no matter where you go, when I was in the military, even though I was in the military, it's a difference between the Navy, the Army, the Marines, the Coast Guard, and all that. We still a family. We
Right.
part of what they call the United States Armed Forces, but we get a different group within each other. And then when we go from ship to ship, we different ships. We represent this and we represent that. And then within the ship, we got a different family structure. I was what they call a twidget because we worked on uh, geek stuff, electronics and dumb stuff like that. People that worked in the engine compartment, they were a family. They called them snipes. People that repaired and took care of the ships, they called them something else. But we were one big family, but there was a unique bond and a relationship. If I go in the Navy now and I tell somebody my rate, my rank, they automatically associate things on a family level, who I am,
Mm-hmm.
just by what I was doing. So there's a class system within a family. Families know something about each other, like your siblings know stuff about you. That's why sometimes it's harder in a biological family and even an extended family when you go through some form of separation. It's more painful. It's more painful because you know so much about each other. And it could be a situation where families have a hardened heart for each other. But at the same time, an outsider, I mean, families could be going to blows, and they see that in domestic violence situations where siblings are fighting each other, but let somebody else come into that family. Lord have mercy.
Yeah.
Whoa, for that
Yeah.
individual.
That's the way it was with my family, my siblings. We could be fighting like cats and dogs, but nobody else can
Uh-huh.
do it.
Right,
Let somebody else outside the family gonna jump in, or want to say something to one of them. Everybody's on that person, because you don't mess with the family. This is
oh
my sister. I can call her ugly if I want to, but you can't.
yeah. Right,
you know. So yeah, that bond is there. It is there, and that's one of the things I like about my family. We have that bond. But you know what? There are a lot of people who don't have that bond with their siblings. Cause I
oh yeah.
remember one time I was hanging with some people, and I was in a store and I was buying something for me, and then I decided to buy something for my sister, and they said,
uh,
I wish my sister would do me like that. So I didn't think twice about me buying something for my sister. It's an
right,
automatic. But other people, they wish they had that. So
right,
it's important that you do have that bond, because sometimes people, siblings, sometimes are rivalries. They're competing with
right,
each other. They want the attention. They want to look the best and all of that kind of stuff. But with us, we just want to get along. Of course,
right,
we want to do our best. And if somebody's doing something, we're going to help them to rise up to the top of the ladder. But
right,
we're not trying to break them down and outdo them and outshine them, because everybody have their place. You might shine today. You're going to help me shine tomorrow. That's the way we do it. When we even working with my mom, everybody took turns when she was sick. Everybody took turns taking care of my mom, going to the
mhm,
hospital to see her. When we got ready to have parties and stuff like that, we got together and planned a party for her.
Mm.
Plan a birthday gift or whatever. When we wanted her to have this chair, this lift chair, we all got
Uh-huh.
together and did it. It's a family affair, got together and do it for the common good.
Well,
So,
families do come together. I find now in larger families, and we're not having these families now, but we had families of 14, 15 children. There was a big gap. You might have uh, in families of 14, I call them uh, in the teens, you might have one group that are together. That's a younger generation. All of them might be 25 to, you know, maybe 30 years old, 5 years apart. Then you had a middle group, they might be in their 40s. Then you had a senior group that might be over 60. Well, that family has a different setup. It's a gap. Uh, Now it depends on how much of a structure was there between the mother and the father to keep all of them on point. Usually the oldest ones left and uh, came back and made stuff and kept in touch with the younger ones. Well, in today's families, you got smaller families, but in families where just say you got uh, it's not the same mother, or it might not be the same father. It might be a what they call a bonus family. You got additional children that are only related through one bloodline. Well, when they grow up, there might be some differences in which they possess in dealing with each other. Now, some families, even with that going on, they are still tight family. You won't even know they're not even kin to each other. But without a strong, and usually it's the female figure, without a strong female figure to keep that family bonded, that family doesn't see any family connection. Okay, you'll have brothers and sisters fighting each other, and they're not thinking about the family. They will actually bring other folk to help them defeat the internal family. And those are some things that are happening today. The family is being broken up, and the nucleus of the family has always been to protect from within. Because even America, you think about America as a family, even with America, with all the drama that America has brought, America has always been able to bring everybody together under the American banner to say, well, we're family, we're America. You know, now they had what's the Civil War. You had brothers against brothers because the North and the South, a lot of these folk were kin. That's why they had a problem disciplining each other. Well, the North had a problem disciplining the Southern people because they still had some family members down South. So they condoned. They said, okay, we done had this fight, the bloodiest battle in our history. We're gonna wipe our noses off, but the big thing is we still family, we still America. And even with black and brown people in America, there's always been, okay, I know we didn't do y'all right, but guess what? We need you to come out and help America. It's World War One. We need you to come out and help America. It's World War Two. We need you to come out and help America. It's the Korean War. We need you to come out and help America. It's the Vietnam War. But somewhere now the family is being fragmented again, the country itself. So again, you got different people that are fighting from within. You got Americans, it's hard to raise that flag and say we're America now because everybody like, well, we ain't the same. We ain't on the same thing.
Yeah, that's true. A lot of them don't want to raise that flag now
Oh
because
no.
they've learned the history,
Right.
So if they know the history behind the flag, some of them saying, "Nah, this is not my war. This is not my flag. I don't support
Right.
it."
Yeah, we sitting this one out.
Yeah, yep,
Yeah.
exactly. But it is important that you do know your history, though. That
Oh
that
yeah.
that is one thing. I was thinking about, for family, as far as it's a family affair, you have to know your history. It is so important because when you know your family history, you know you're learning something about yourself. Okay. For instance, let me give you an example. Let me give you, okay. My great great grandfather, I believe it was, he was a slave and he would always run away, because he didn't want to be a slave. And they've sold him so many times, you know, and because, he kept running away. And that was his determination to be free. And I feel like that spirit from him is in me, being free, untamed, you can't control me. You know, I feel like his spirit is in me, because he was like that. And then there were other people. I feel like I have that spirit. My grandfather, as a matter of fact, he was a tough cookie, you know. And to hear the stories from about my grandfather, I'm going, oh, so that's
Mm,
where I got that from. Look, from my mom, to know the stuff from my mom, I got it from my mom,
mm,
So it's important to know your history and let your kids might do something and you say, "Oh, my grandfather was like that," or "He got that from my daddy." Might not even know my daddy, but my grandchild is inherit some of his genes. So it's important that you know your family history. As a matter of fact, your medical history.
mm.
Cause for instance, like sickle cell anemia. Sickle cell sometimes it skip a generation. Okay, if you skip a generation and the person who got skipped didn't know anything about anybody else having sickle cell, and then when they have a child and that child gets it, it's like nobody in my family has sickle cell. But then you look back in your history, yes, they
Right.
did. You were skipped. Okay, so it's important to know that. Because who knows? You might have to get blood from one of your relatives or get
Right.
bone marrow or something like that. And sometimes you have to be matched up to the right person to get these things. And if you know your family, that might be the route to go.
Right.
That might be the route. And
Well,
as far as diseases like bone disease, you might not know that everybody in your family had this degenerating bone disease if they don't tell you. And
right.
if you're not connected with your family and knowing their history, you might be in wonder, how did this happen to me? But then
Right.
you find out it's in the family. And sometimes you can ward it off, like I did with high blood pressure. Okay. Now, high blood pressure runs in my family. I decided years and years ago that I wasn't going to get it. So I started out by not eating pork. That was the main thing. I'm not going to eat pork because I don't want to get high blood pressure. And I was doing some other things to prevent from getting high blood pressure because I know it runs in the family. So, you got to know your history. Those things are important. On top of that, you don't want to go off the other part of the history is just knowing who the relatives are, your cousins and aunties and all of that kind of stuff. Because when they get married, they change their names. I'm a Jones now, but when I marry, I'm going to marry a Brown. So now
Hmm.
Browns are my family. But if your kids don't know about this, the one's living in Chicago, the other one living in New York. They meet up in Montana.
Ah,
Get married. Don't know each other's family, but you are family. So that is important too. Because I have known for people to do that. They didn't
right.
know that they were marrying their relatives, but they
The
did.
cousin, kissing cousin.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yep. I have
Well,
known that to
that's
happen.
when we talk about a family affair. Um, when you bring a family together, and this is critical, and I think we're doing it more now. Now, in certain cultures, just say it could be the Jewish culture. Well, when they bring the family together, they go through a lot of the discussions like this. One thing is just to get the family together. Okay, that's one thing. You see your cousins, you see people. You say, "Oh man, they know this look just like what's his name, this and that." Okay, we big boned people or small boned. Some of them light skinned, some of them dark skinned. We see all this type of stuff. Another
Mm-hmm.
aspect of getting the family together is to maintain some degree of culture and some connection there. Another part is the health of the family. You get discussions about the health of the family. Families now they taking sickle cell tests, diabetes, high blood pressure tests, and all that stuff. Another part is the wealth of the family. The families found out, uh, you know, or working on things for the family to create wealth and longevity. They might meet on a farm that belong or been in the family for 80 or 100 years, whatever. Well, those are and also developing a culture for the young people. When you look at the terminologies that are used within the family, things like derogatory terms, it could be the N word, it could be the B word. Well, if you're in that family, you say, well, we practice not doing this or having this type behavior. And then that family in turn teaches the younger generation. Now, the more frequently they do this, that builds a family into a stronger unit. And that makes that
Mm-hmm.
family a lot harder to penetrate when it comes down to some of these things that are happening out here in the world.
Yeah, you're right. And my family, big time religions. Big time.
Okay.
It's like my grandfather was a preacher, my uncle was a preacher, my brother is a preacher, my cousin is a preacher, my dad was a deacon, my other grandfather was a preacher, well, great grandfather was a
Mm.
preacher, so it runs in the family. And even though a lot of those people are dead, and if I think about doing something wrong, I think about them. They would turn over in their grave if they knew I was going to do this.
Ah,
So, having that ancestry mindset set, it keeps you from doing things, kind of keep you in order. My
right,
family are entrepreneurs, so it's easy for me to say, I'm going to do this. I'm going to be big and, try to be an entrepreneur because it runs in the family. So it's like, it's a family thing, it's a family thing to be entrepreneurs because everybody's doing stuff in my family.
right.
Everybody. I mean, even my brother owned Checkers, so it's it's in there.
And that helps uh, for a generation of people within a family unit to see and identify their family with something. You
Mm-hmm.
could be in what we call a jacked up area of town, but if you knew or know that your family has got some living strong roots, that makes you want to do better or be better. For
Yeah.
instance, like you said, when you I remember uh, going down the family tree uh, on my father's side. We're drummers, but we're not drummers. Okay,
Mm.
because my dad actually didn't get a chance to meet his dad. Okay,
Uh-huh.
and so that name drummer comes from an entry of my grandmother. Okay, now on my mother's side, my mother was a Mosley, and uh, from that side, my granddaddy that goes all the way from Mosley to Bailey's, and then my grandmother, on my who's my mom's mom, they were Walkers and Freemans. So when you see and we do the family reunions, you see a different things that each bring. Each group brings a certain thing, and the more you look at the family, they could all be dark skinned people, some light skinned or whatever. In the black family, the black and brown family, we see a mixture of complexions of people. You'll see some people, you say, well, that's how they had some Indians over there. And, when you go through the bloodline and different things, you see different things that happened during that time period. And the more you're able to explain it, excuse me, especially to the young people, because sometimes young people's first history lesson is outside of the family. But if you get a history lesson within your family, meaning that you've already looked at some stuff within your family, so when you get out here to civil rights museums and things like that, you will have a history of what your mother, her mother, and father did, and so you can put some dots together, and you got a different meaning. Some people don't get a wake up call. We in a bubble, and in that bubble, you don't realize what your people had to go through. So once you know the struggle that your people had to go through from a personal standpoint, you'll never do anything that will make your people feel bad. Like you say, you don't do anything to make your uncles or family members feel bad because you knew who they were. If you
Yeah.
didn't know who they were, you say all kind of stuff, all types of derogatory things about people and this and that because you didn't know. And anytime someone doesn't know, that's when they use bad terms to describe each other. You see them doing all kind of. We all do some stuff, but you always have to have somebody you look up to. In my case, it was my mother. I didn't want to do nothing so bad where I couldn't go before my mom and and tell her what I did.
Right. Yeah. I know I couldn't do anything and
Yeah.
tell my mom. So I've always been a good person. I've
Right. Yeah.
always been a good person. And then too, knowing your history and it helps you with your children too, because you can say, this happened to my family, and you're gonna go in that direction.
Right.
Meaning like, I didn't have any drug addicts in my family. I didn't have any thieves and robbers and jailheads, jailbirds in my family. So you're gonna go in that direction. We didn't do it. You're not gonna do it. I have entrepreneurs. This did this. This is a millionaire. This person has his own business, and this person doing this. This is a preacher. You got a path to follow.
Right.
I will not accept anything less than a straight and narrow path. So you put it out there, and kids sometimes they do listen. They hear you. You think they're not listening, but it goes in, and it
Oh
helps
yeah.
them to go in the right direction, knowing what their ancestors were or what their current family members are doing. Because people always want to be looked up to. So if you're
Yeah.
doing something good and somebody's gonna look up to you, you're gonna try to continue to do it. And
Right.
that's what you try to put in your kids, because they need to know their family members. They need to know Uncle John lived here, and he left to get a better job and whatever. You know, they need to know that.
And when they know and realize the struggle that people had and successes too, you
Mm-hmm.
don't have all the doom and gloom. A lot of the frustration that's happening, especially well in the community, and I'll say the black and brown community, is the absence of knowing who your family is. You know,
Right.
you could say, well, we come from kings and queens. We built the pyramids. We did this. We did that. But if you can't go home and find a connection between you and that, those folk look like strangers. Those people look like strangers. You could say, well, you come home and it might be a single mother dealing with a lot. Uh, she don't have a good history of her with her mom and dad. So that makes the child not look at himself as being important. So
Hmm.
he doesn't have a connection with nothing. But if that child can see a connection, then that child will more likely grow up and want to be a person that participates and builds a family. Okay.
Right.
And when they build a family, they'll have something to build upon, because they say, well, I grew up with a single mom, but however, her mom, her dad, they were this, they did this, and and you can see that. You can see a pattern of success. Then that puts that family into, and a future family into a better perspective. So that's why a family affair is critical, because once you got uh, nuggets that are left, then you can assemble things that'll help you move and be motivated. You say, well, one thing, even if you don't have a connection between you, your family, and the great pyramids or the great kings of Africa and whatever, you could say, well, your great grandmama, your great granddad was it could be anything. She could be the maid, but she was a maid, and guess what? She was able to put 2, 3 kids through college. She was a maid, or he was a porter on a railroad, and he was able to do this and do this. Uh, and that person can explain where they failed. They said, well, your dad, even though me and your dad not together, guess what? Your dad was a XYZ person. He was in the military. He fought in the Korean War. Uh, he passed away, got killed in Vietnam or whatever, but you don't have a story that says you got no history, you got no beginning, so you don't have no connection. You just a mistake in life. And when young people feel that they connected with family, they are more likely to be better human beings.
Yeah, and when you're abundant with your family, you have a sense of being. I belong here.
Oh
So
yeah,
you want to connect with your family members. Just hang out. Have dinner together. Just talk on the phone. Just visit or whatever. Give you that sense of belonging, because it's sad when a person feel like they're out there in the world by themselves, and they're
right,
not. They're not. They just don't know who it is that they're belonging to. A
right,
lot of time. So get to know your family. Have this bond, visit, have these reunions, have these dinners with Big Mama's house or Aunt Sia's house or whatever. You know, that is important. When family members have birthday parties, go meet some more relatives. That is important, to have that bond, to have that sense of belonging, because one of those people might get sick and you might be able to go and help them out, hand them a glass of water, or you might be able to call another relative and say so and so is sick, they need your help or whatever.
mm-hmm.
It's important that you have that bond and have that connection and stay connected, because it gives you a sense of belonging. Like I said, I feel like, because I have several relatives here, and I feel like we're together. Even though we don't talk all the time, and you don't have to talk all the time, but just know that they're there. Know that you connect sometimes.
Right,
Occasionally you get together. So that is important. Know your roots, know your bloodline, because if
yeah,
you get sick, I'm in the hospital. Can you come over and visit or something? And sometimes, if nobody else show up, you have a relative there. Like
right,
if a woman don't have any kids and she just got nieces and nephews, those nieces and nephews gonna pitch in. I gotta go help Aunt June. She's
right,
sick. She don't have anybody, so I gotta be there. That support system is important. Like Big Mama might be sick. Everybody gonna pitch in and help Big Mama, or give somebody some money so they can take care of her. You know.
right. Well, uh, one of the things, and it takes uh, reaching out. Uh, Even if you can start family traditions. If you are exercised from your family, uh, or don't feel like being in touch with your family, at least you can start some traditions within your family unit that empowers the young people in the family. For instance, if I knew a young lady that her and her family didn't get along. I think her mother and her dad were dead, so she had put a bridge between her and the rest of the family. Mother was a single child, daddy was a single child, so the closest people were cousins and things like that. Well, she still maintained a tight family just based on her. Okay,
Mhm.
they didn't have to connect with that family. But they did things like make sure kids feel worthy of birthday celebrations, make sure they feel connected to something. Uh, her father was in the military. Her mother was a nurse or a hospital person. So those were things that she brought out within for her son and her daughter. And she would do things like make sure uh, her son saw army guys, had the army men to play with, and the girl was playing doctor and nurse. But these were traditions that she was setting up so that the children would feel connected to something.
Mm.
She said, well, and then by the time they got to be teenage years, they had got so used to doing this role play that when they started to be curious about who in your family was this, because a lot of kids, they didn't have grandparents to come to school on Grandparents' Day because their grandparents were dead. But she
Right.
established, it took that woman to establish a role so that her kids didn't feel neglected. you know, those things were explained, and they didn't feel like they was missing out because a lot of young people don't feel connected to family. They start behaving like they don't belong, and you'll see them do stuff like curse out old people, you know, just do just ignorant behavior. So I've noticed when it could be a single parent, but you create something that's based on family values, and the family comes out in a better position, a better, you know, shape.
Yeah, and young people they be tickled to death to have cousins. Cause I took my
Mm-hmm.
cousins, not my cousin, my grandchildren to Mississippi for a funeral, and they met cousins they didn't know existed. This is my cousin. Hey, cousin. They
Mm.
were tickled to death. You want to be my friend? And
Ah,
look, they in Mississippi and we here, and they trying to make play dates.
okay,
Yeah, I mean they a little bit 7 and 8 years old, but they were trying to create play dates, for their
okay.
cousins. You know,
Well, that connection, that's family connection. That's good. And then
yeah.
now you got social media. Even though sometimes social media gets flat, when families really build and lay out a ground floor family, social media can come in and be patchwork. For instance, uh, especially during COVID, uh, we were able to have uh, simulated family get-togethers over
Hmm.
Zoom and other platforms. Okay, now some of the older ones, even they would start to embrace it, but it was different things that we could do, birthday
Hmm.
celebrations, things like that. Well, anything you can do to bring the family together, even in the absence of a celebratory type thing, you got funerals, okay? Funerals. But if you can get family together for just anything, just to celebrate, it moves and motivates people to want to be a family. It even
Yeah.
gets people to the point where they start to prepare and think and say, when I get a family, and when people start to prepare and think, they become better stewards in their teenage years, then the young adult years. You don't have a lot of the what you could call bad behavior. Young people uh, going, back to just making choices about things. They take care of their bodies, they take care of themselves. Then they put themselves in a position where they're not harming themselves via drugs, cause depression, not feeling wanted, all those things.
Yeah, yeah. And it is so important though that they do that. It is so important. They I know for them it uh caused them to have a bond, you know, to know they have newfound family because being down here, they don't have a whole lot of family members. But when you
Mm-hmm.
go home and you find out you got cousins and
Yeah.
aunties and uncles, it make you feel good, make you feel like you
Yeah.
belong to a group,
A bigger,
and that's that
right.
family. And that's a award winning thing right there to feel like you're wanted, feel like you
Yeah.
belong to a group, of people that loves you unconditionally. And
Right.
that's the thing that's good about family. Family love you unconditionally. They're gonna be upset with you. They're gonna be angry and might say no to you for a few times, especially those who really bad. But
Right.
when it comes down to it, blood is thicker than water.
Mm,
You might irritate the daylights out of me, but if you're sick and you need my help, I'm gonna be there.
right.
I'm not gonna say you deserve this. You're my blood. I'm gonna help you. And so that's the important thing about family. And I hope a lot of people uh, feel that way about their relative because I know there are a lot of civil sibling rivalry out there. A lot of cousins shoot say they messy and all of that, but we need to come together. Family is so important.
Oh yeah.
It is so,
Well,
and so much love in there. You just got to see it and feel it and know that it's there.
you look at, we talked about the biological family.
Mm-hmm.
Well, even within the race, there's a culture of family. As a people, uh, there are certain values that we have amongst each other. As sometimes you see black people say, well, we don't do that. Okay. But that's a
Mm-hmm.
family value. It could be a cultural value. Uh, we fight. We don't jump on folk for no reason. Uh,
Right.
all those become family value. Now over time, because whether it be the media or other platforms, because no one's been teaching the core values of family. Uh, the generation is in a position where they if you easily manipulate it, meaning that you don't know who your family is, you don't know your connection, then you can do things that are detrimental to the forward movement of your family. They did an experiment where they took the baby elephants. They took the baby elephants and uh, away from the herd. Now the baby elephants didn't even realize they were elephants. Okay,
Oh, really? Uh-huh.
no, because it's in their DNA to be an elephant, but they didn't know they had power, you know, and they were docile. They were weak, and they do the same thing. That's why sometimes in the zoos, if they don't have a a male or a female animal, and they say one of them may die either during pregnancy or during some other process. There's nobody around to teach it to behave accordingly. Well, it starts to behave differently. Well, that's the same thing within our community, Black community. Yeah, there are
Mm-hmm.
certain things that we do, but certain behaviors are being telegraphed to us because there's nobody standing in the gap of the family, that said we don't do that. And I think once the family is reestablished, and I think that's happening because the majority of people are family orientated. The majority of people are family orientated. It's small numbers, but even those small numbers, they're kin to somebody. When you see all the news, the carjackings, the big crime, uh, everybody, nobody gets here by themselves. You born into this world via the connection of two human beings.
Yeah,
Okay,
and you
so
know, and people they long for that. Even children, when they're joining these gangs, they want a
looking for
sense of
family,
belonging, you
right?
know,
They
and
want
they feel
family,
like this gang is their family, you know. So
right?
it's important that the real family jump in and make them feel loved and feel like they belong. That they don't have to go out there and do this crime and be with the wrong family. Okay,
Right,
you got to teach them that hey, I love you so much, you don't need to be there, you know, and
right,
let them know, you know, show them, give them that attention that they need so they can be with the right family rather than the wrong family. Because kids, they seek direction, you know, and a lot
oh, yeah.
of it is they seeking direction and they feel like that's who love them. So they're going with who loves them. So family is love, you know, you just gotta let them know. And we can't be so much as into our own world to show our kids that we love them, and into our own world too much to take them around their family, their uncles, their cousins, you know,
Right,
because they got a lot of relatives. They got a lot of people who would love to sit down and talk to them and tell them their family history. Because I went to a reunion this weekend. Man, this guy was telling me some history, you know,
mm.
and stuff that I didn't know. You know, I've learned a few things myself, and, and I'm one of the elders. You know,
Ah,
yeah, I am one of the elders, and I'm learning stuff still about my family. So,
right,
you know, you got to get together, you know, and teach them because kids love to know about their family. They love to know their roots. You know, believe it or not, you might not think so, but you know, when they start hearing it, so and so did this. Even like, um, if you know somebody in your family was a great musician, you can think they did it. I can do it too. You know, you know, so and so went to college. I can go too. Nobody else went to college, but I'm gonna be the first one to do it. You know,
right,
you got to be pushed sometime. So family, it is important. You know, like I said, blood is thicker than water. So if you teach your kids stuff, teach it the right way, give them that love and nurturing, they won't have to go out and seek that belonging from a bad group. They
right,
don't have to do that because you gave it to them. And sometimes family members are your best friends. And believe it or not, even though you argue with your family, they are better friends to you than some of your outside friends. Even though sometimes those outside friends are better than your family friends and your blood
right.
family. You know, there are cases like that too. But
True.
they're there. My sister would be like my best friend, you know.
Mm.
So whatever I need, you know, I got them. They are like both of my sisters. They got my back, you know. 400 miles away, they got my back, you know. So it's important to know that family have your back,
Oh
and
yeah, yeah,
yeah, it's important. Not know it, you know, but so you got to keep in contact. Call them up every now and then. Hi, how you doing? Make that connection and keep that connection. You know, all the time. It's
yeah.
it's important.
And you know that was one of the things. Encourage people to reach out to your family members. You know, I mean, it's been a couple of years, over 10 years. First time we started doing a family call, I remember my mom was like, "Why you got to make it a special day that you call me?" I said, "Well, Mom, this is gonna be a special day once a month. We just get them all in there. We're gonna be on this conference call. We're gonna do this, yada yada yada." Well, over time, that became a a funnel for the family to communicate. And then we went to the internet and all that type of stuff. So anytime you can reach out to family members, you know, and sometimes just see how they doing, go up the ladder. You know, now I got less people on top of me. You know, my dad,
Mhm.
stepmom, you know, but I got more people below me. You know, my son, all my grands, you know, nephews, cousins. So, like you say, we are the top of the food chain now,
Yeah,
in a way. We the elders. So it's our job to push and make sure, I drop some golden nuggets and my nephews would be like, great uncle, good to hear that, man. Good to hear that. They want information. They love it.
yeah, yeah, they do. They do, and it's like eager to hear it. And a lot of them now, they're eager to find their cousins and talk to them and meet them and see what they're about, see how they can connect. Because family members now, they're connecting. You got a business, I got a business. Let's put our business together or see how we can support each other. You know,
Right.
so that's important too. That is so important. On top of that, you can learn from each other, get some advice from another person who has that business, or you know, entrepreneurs or educators, tax person. You might have somebody who work with the IRS. You can call them
Oh yeah.
up. You know, free
Get you out of
information.
trouble. Land, family
uh,
land, farm, recipes. Families doing all kind of stuff, together, bonding.
mhm. Yeah, they are. So that's going to be it tonight. You got in the last minutes. We're going to close it out.
Peace and power to the family. Love you. Take care.
Yeah,
Can't live without you.
and you have been watching Good News at Prime Time. And today's topic was it's a family affair. Get together with your family. It is so important that you stay in contact with your family members, even those you haven't talked to or you feel estranged with. Call them up. They'll be surprised, and they will be pleasantly surprised that you called them up or reached out to them. Because Facebook has give you an opportunity to reach out to a lot of people. Sometimes you might have family members that you haven't seen in forever, but you can find them on Facebook. No, look them up. LinkedIn, you might can find them on LinkedIn or whatever. Call up your auntie. Do you know Tracy's phone number? Call them up and say hello. You just want to keep in contact because family is so important. It is so important because if you live in Chicago and you have children and your child drive off to Minnesota, you might have relatives in Minnesota. Okay, so when your child goes to Minnesota, have them to contact them so they won't be there by themselves. Because we always try to look out for our kids and want somebody to be there for them when we're not there. So find out where your relatives are, make that contact. Because when your children start migrating, you want to know that somebody can be there to contact them. They can make contact in case of emergencies or something like that. Okay, you never can tell, or just give them a hand or tell them which direction to go or whatever. Okay, something might happen to your child in Minnesota and you can't get there, but you got a relative there. You can call them up and say, my son was in an accident or my son did this or whatever. Can you check on me and let me know what's going on? I'll be there as soon as I can. No, they can do that. So find your relatives, keep in contact with them. It's a lot of love there. It's so much love just getting together. Have these family gatherings once a year, once a month, whatever. Couple times a year, holidays. You know, keep it together. Keep your family together. Let your children know who their family members are so they won't go off and marry their cousins. Okay? You don't want that to happen. Okay? And so until then, you are watching Good News at Prime Time. Don't forget to pick up this book, Power Thoughts, Empowering You to Be Successful in Life. You can get it at AandKProductions.com. AandKProductions.com. Until next week, you have a good one and God bless.